Okay, so I've been watching some other people's videos, bipolar related videos, and it's really got me to thinking about my last couple of years. And I wanted to make this video to talk a little bit about kind of what caused me to spiral downward into this manic psychotic kind of episode that I had that led to me being hospitalized. Excuse me. So first off, we had been living in Florida, and my husband got orders to get deployed. So we decided that me and the girls would come back to my hometown and live here while he was gone, so that I would have like my family around me to help me with them and stuff like that. And I think that was probably the first sort of catalyst that pushed me into the mania, because I was so stressed out with the deployment and with having to take care of the girls all the time, which, you know, I normally did anyways, but doing it pretty much all on my own, it was more than I was used to dealing with, and just the stress of it kind of pushed me like over the edge, I guess you could say, and all that stress really started to take a mental toll on me. And another thing that happened kind of around the same time, this was all almost exactly 2 years ago. So my husband left, and then not long after that, I got back into contact with this guy who had been kind of like a online friend of mine when I was a teenager, and he found me again online through like MySpace or something. And we started talking a lot to each other just online. And that, I think, was another kind of catalyst that pushed me into the mania, because I would be up really late at night talking to him, and some nights I wouldn't get to bed till like 3 in the morning or sometimes later. And I would still get up early the next morning with my girls and take care of them all day, and then I'd be up late at night. And so, of course, if you know anything about mania, lack of sleep is one of the main things that can push a person into a manic episode. So that lack of sleep constantly was taking a toll on me mentally, and I didn't really realize it at the time. I didn't put the pieces together because I didn't really, you know, it was all happening piece by piece and kind of, you know, sporadically, I guess you could say. I don't know. That doesn't really make sense, but I guess I'm just saying, looking back on it now, I can see the progression of things, but like while you're in the midst of it, you can't really differentiate all the things that are going on, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, and I started to be kind of like reckless in my behavior. I would go out drinking a lot with my friends, and there were a couple times when I did not come home at all. I just stayed out all night, drank all night, was hungover the next morning, and my dad watched my kids while I was going out, and I think he thought I was just kind of like blowing off steam, so he never gave me a hard time about it, and he, you know, didn't really recognize anything going on either at the time. But my drinking was definitely kind of, I would say, out of control for a while, and that certainly didn't help matters any. And then one day, just out of the blue, I decided I wanted to go on vacation, and so I called my friend and I said, "Do you want to go on vacation with me?" And she said, "Sure." So I would have gone like the very next day. I was so like up, you know, my brain was just racing all the time, and I sometimes just felt like my head was going to float off into the atmosphere or something. I mean, I was really just out of sorts, and really just all over the place. And so anyways, she said she wanted to go with me, and I would have gone immediately, but she had to save up money first. So we did wind up going, but it was a couple of months later while I was still in the middle of this whole manic episode. And I was working a lot on schoolwork too, so on the nights when I wasn't like talking to my friend really late, I'd be up late working on school, and I was really trying to meet this deadline, so I was kind of overloaded, I guess, with schoolwork too. So that was another thing that kind of just added on to everything that was going on. And then I think around March time frame, I was in this like manic kind of period for several months, which I can recognize it now looking back, but I didn't know at the time what was going on with me, and that it was like one giant episode, I guess you could say. I don't know. So anyways, around March time frame, my dad, who I was living with at the time, went on vacation, and that's really what pushed me over the edge to where I started becoming psychotic, because I was so manic, and I was so I was getting to the point where it was beyond like happiness. It was like I was angry all the time and irritable all the time, and my mental state was just very bad. But my dad was gone for like a week, and I had absolutely no help with the kids, and I had like a breakdown, I guess. And once he got back, I just started getting worse and worse and worse every day, to where people like my dad, looking from the outside in, could tell that something was definitely wrong with me, and that I needed to seek help. And it's because of my dad that I was hospitalized. He was the one that prodded me into going to the hospital, which was the best thing for me at the time, because I was kind of, I don't know, thinking I could pull myself out of it maybe, or that it would just pass or something like that, which obviously that's not the case. It had gotten so bad that I needed outside help, and once I got hospitalized, then I got my diagnosis of bipolar, which didn't surprise me in the least, because I kind of had thought for a while that I might have bipolar even before this whole manic episode started, because I had always dealt with like these ups and downs like through my whole life. So it wasn't a surprise to me or shock to me at all. It was kind of actually a relief to get the diagnosis. And once I got out of the hospital, I started seeing a psychiatrist, and she put me on Risperdal, which is an antipsychotic medication. And after I went on that, pretty quickly after I started taking that, everything started to kind of come into focus again and normalize, and my moods started to become more level, I guess, and I wasn't all manic and psychotic and stuff. Which, interesting side note, I didn't even know that psychosis was a real medical diagnosis until it happened to me. My diagnosis on admission to the hospital was psychosis, and yeah, you always hear, oh, that person's psycho or something like that, but I didn't know it was a real medical thing. I didn't even know what it was, or that it existed. So it was kind of strange that it happened to me and I didn't even know really what it was. So anyways, that kind of started me on the path to recovery, and I'm doing well now, and I've been stable for the last like 10 months or so, 11 months on Zyprexa, and I'm doing great now. So I just wanted to share a little bit of kind of what pushed me into that state of mind, and what was going on at the time. If you have anything that you want to share, please feel free. You know where I'm at.